Aloha once again from the big island of Hawaii, and welcome back to the 7th Direction. The 7th Direction, according to Native American shamanism, is right that way, straight into you. And so that is the direction that we're focused on going here throughout these presentations. As I said at the very beginning, this is not my best thing, just emoting things for several minutes at a time. I'm much better with questions and answers, so please do submit questions if you have anything that you'd like to know more about as the series progresses. I would imagine that for many people at this point, the very first question would be, suppose that I have accepted some of these ideas already presented in the first episode about Pascal's wager, that you are going to make your commitment to at least a few minutes a day of the idea that you're more than this physical body, and then you were opening your ego and your mind to say, okay, great, I'm going to take these ideas of science with modern physics and subatomic particles, and I'm going to say, yes, okay, maybe everything isn't what it looks like, and so those two things put together, yes, I would like to go in my 7th direction. Now what? Okay, so the answer is meditation. Now, before you say to yourself, even as those words come out, you say, oh yes, I do meditation because I sit in the mornings with my morning cup of coffee and I think about things and whatever, and that's my meditation. No. One of the important things, one of the important concepts, I would say, that we need to begin to communicate about is that specific words mean specific things. So it is true that in many relationships, it's the definition of the words that causes the problem. So if I think commitment means one thing and you think commitment means something else, we're going to have a little bit of a problem trying to have a committed relationship. That being said, not everything is subjective. So, for example, the reason we're going in the 7th direction is to ultimately answer one simple question, and it's a simple yes or no question. Does something happen to you after you die? That's it. That's the question. There's no gray area. You can't say something sort of happens, I sort of continue. Either you do continue on as more or less you, aware that you are you, whatever that means and whatever you ultimately find out that means, or you are gone. That's it. You've disappeared. So it's either that you continue or you don't. There is no in between. Here's the point. The point is, the universe does not care what you think or believe about that truth at any time, let alone this time, yesterday, tomorrow, whatever mood you're in. It's one of the important things about truth. Again, we haven't yet drawn any conclusions about what it is, but whatever it is, either when you die, you continue, or when you die, you don't. So, not every truth is subjective. So, to bring this full circle, meditation is the word we were talking about, and meditation is actually a specific exercise. And it's one that you want to practice and master. If you really want to be an expert at your internal landscape, then you need to study it in the same way that if you wanted to be a chemical engineer, you'd need to study for several years before you could actually get a job at one, meaning you had some competence, some professionalism around it. That's what you're looking for in your meditation. You don't just want to be drifting around. Again, for all the ultimate comfort that may come from these ideas. For example, if you ultimately do prove to yourself that you continue on after you die, that can provide some emotional comfort. There's no question that your perspective on life changes, on the issues that you deal with, on how seriously you take things, on how emotionally involved you get in things, and how connected you are to the melodramas that you have to deal with. All of these things can benefit from the idea that the whole totality of you is not defined by your body. What that means is what we're going to explore, possibly. But again, all I'm saying is that that idea, should you be able to prove it to you, could have some emotional comfort, could make you, quote, feel better. That being said, as I've said consistently all along, we're not trying to feel better. We're trying to better understand the universe, better understand ourselves, better understand the people around us, better understand the world that we live in and what's happening, and therefore how we can make better decisions for us as individuals that take us in directions we want to go, that make us actually happier, more productive human beings. Happier, really happier, not just feeling better, but really being happy people on all the different levels. So if that's where you want to go, then you need to begin to get comfortable with your different levels. Meditation is the way that you do that. How do you do meditation specifically? The answer is, well, there are lots of different techniques. My particular favorite technique is the simplest, I think, which is to find a comfortable place to sit. A comfortable place to sit. I don't believe in the idea that you have to sit in a stiff chair on a concrete floor and starve yourself. I do not believe that that actually helps your process of exploring your internal landscape. It can help you learn discipline and structure and different things, but the actual meditation itself, make yourself comfortable, because what you're trying to do is go inside. You want no distractions from the outside world, which means that you may have to carve out space for yourself. You may have to make it a task and say, okay, at this time every day I'm going to do meditation. As in, at this time every day I go to the grocery store, or at this time every day I make lunch. To schedule it so that you have a little barrier around you that says, okay, I have taken 15 minutes off of the rest of my life, and I'm going to use that time to learn more about myself. As you go through this process, you will be reviewing the things that happen to you in your life. In fact, one of the first things that happens when you go through this process is that you will review the things that have happened to you during your day. Now that can sound familiar to what I said we don't want, which is thinking that reflecting over your morning coffee is the same thing as meditation. It isn't. But that processing of that energy is one level of meditation, of which there are many. So how do you begin? Once you have created a quiet space for yourself, both physically and mentally, so that you won't be physically disturbed, the phone is off, and mentally you've given yourself the peace of mind to say, I can afford to take 15 minutes not to watch television or read a book, but to actually sit with myself and spend some time with myself. Easiest way to do that, find your comfortable spot, close your eyes, and visualize a spot right there between your eyebrows that is white light. And then go ahead and keep that image in your mind as you sit. And just relax and breathe and focus on having your attention in that one little spot and just keep it there. What's going to happen is these thoughts will come to you. As I said, one of the first things that will happen is you'll think about, oh, you forgot to do the laundry, you forgot to change the soap in the whatever, blah, blah, blah. You forgot to call so-and-so. When those kinds of things come in, just release them as if you're dropping a twig into a stream and your thought is that twig, and it just sort of runs by, and then you just swing your focus back to the white light and let yourself just stay there. And that really is all that's required to begin your meditation practices. What you're doing is you're creating a screen almost for yourself on which you will be able to begin to experience things. We're all very visually oriented beings, and so this experience of spending time with the visualization of yourself as white light is in itself very positive. Remember, I did mention in a previous episode that science has discovered the nature of the universe is actually you, meaning when you split yourself down to the smallest pieces, when we split anything in the universe down to the smallest pieces, the actual nature of things is light. That's exactly what the mystics have been saying for tens of thousands of years, that you are a being of light. What does that mean? Even if you accept it, we're going to get into that idea, but let's suppose that it's right, then spending some time with yourself, picturing yourself that way, is probably a positive experience. So that's the beginning of your meditative practice. Sit, find a quiet space for 15 minutes, focus on your little spot of white light. You'll do this 3 or 4 times, and then one time you will do it, suddenly your eyes will pop open and you will realize almost the whole 15 minutes has gone and you don't know what happened. You weren't sleeping, you weren't dreaming, and you weren't thinking. You still existed, but you were in a frame of mind, a state of being that was a little bit different for you, sort of a concentrated awareness, and it is timeless. You will just jump right out of linear time, and suddenly, as I said, your eyes will pop open. Maybe the first few times you do this, you'll have a clock in front of you so that you know when your time is up, and you'll be sitting like this, and then your eye will pop open, and you'll just be like this. You'll be looking at the clock with one eye going, oh, is the time up yet? Is the time up yet? But then one of these times, definitely within the first half a dozen times that you meditate, boom, you'll just sort of be outside of yourself for a little while. You won't be completely aware that you're outside of yourself, but you won't be doing any of the other things that you usually do with your mind. As I said, no sleeping, no dreaming, no thinking, yet you're still there. So what are you if you are not just your thoughts, if you are not just your emotions, if there is something else that is still there, and those parts of you are just parts of you, and maybe that sort of quiet space is what you want to be exploring. Maybe that is your 7th direction. So we'll talk more about that next time. Hope you're having a beautiful day. Aloha.